Welcome to hiking. Let's take a little hike. Making camera adjustments right now. And here we go. I already tried to start this once. This is my second attempt to do this. I've done it before, but I need to practice again. I didn't do it all winter. Didn't feel like it. This is a small berry patch right here, right in front of me. A little bit of machine damage over here. Somebody ran some equipment through here for unknown reasons. I suspect they're just marking a deer trail. This right here is a really nice berry patch. Every year going up the hill, I have about 3 little spots. I might get 1 container. Back in here, that looks like I'm going to get about 2 containers in one picking. And the path goes this way. This has always been one of my favorite spots. Years ago, where you see these trees, the whole hillside was covered with them. And after I joined the Navy in 92, or no, I joined in 89, I got out in 92. When I joined, I was going to get out at some point and get a job at a nuclear power plant and come back and buy this. That didn't happen, and I found out around 97 or 98. I was working at a computer place down in Florida, and they had started selling portions of this along a road up the hill. And they had cut down half of the woods already. In 2004, I came up to visit, and the whole thing was a field. All this that you see right here, all this scrub and trees, that was a field. And we've got a dog barker barking us on our way. So it was bare. It was bare dirt. They just plowed it up. And over the years, see, that was 2004. They let it grow wild. So in 16 years, Ed has completely covered it. Here I have another patch. For some reason, this berry patch doesn't ever do very good. I don't know if it's because deer come through here, or it's just not an ideal location. I hesitate to turn the camera behind me because it's going to get sun. But there's heavy trees here, and it doesn't get good afternoon sunlight, but it gets morning sunlight. I'm working on this theory that berry patches need good morning sunlight and good afternoon sunlight. And if they only get a portion, they only do a portion of the berry growth. Over here, there's a little patch that's growing up. What's interesting is, 4 years ago, I made a path through here, and there was nothing here. It was just a path. It was just some weeds. And there was a berry patch up the hill, and this all moved down the hill from it somehow. There's a little portion over there I picked a couple times, but this right here is new, and it doesn't look like it's doing that good, though. The patch that was up the hill, it was up in there. Oh, I can almost hit it. It never did very good. And this one doesn't look like it's doing too hot either. The deer make a path down past this. I've got some really good berry patches back here that I can just go in and pick for days. Once it hits the peak season. We got May apples that are out already. Maybe you can see them down there, these little things. These little green plants coming up. That guy's a May apple. Some of them get little fruits on them. I don't know that they're edible. They do fairly well. I still haven't really worked out a good hiking rhythm with this camera. This isn't a GoPro or anything. This is my streaming camera. So I'm not going to do anything wild back here. Just a walk. I have to keep this camera functional. I always like this little area here. These trees growing out like that and kind of curving along with the ground. It looks really cool, especially in the summertime when they're full leaf. This is an interesting area here because a lot of these are crabapple trees. I don't know if they're going to show up in the camera, but these little guys got some gnarly thorns on them. And I've slowly cleared back where I could walk through. This little spot's where I come to in the wintertime because this tree here, that you can see its shadow, provides some shielding. And I'll just come down here when the wind is cold and it's chilly out and just stand here and look. I should take off the wind sock on the mic, the windbreak, so you can hear the breeze blowing by. I don't know if it would show up. Trees are just starting to get leaves. You got the little shrubs and the blackberries. Whatever this stuff is right here, some kind of shrub. I don't have any idea about that one. I can identify the locust trees and the sumac trees. The sumac trees have red pods, but they've all wasted away in the winter. There's a little single 2 pieces of raspberry right in front of me. And this whole hillside here, a lot of the green except for the one shrub. All this green over here, all over in here, that's all blackberries. You can't walk through it, there's so much. The deer can jump through it. There's a ton of blackberries, but actually finding the berries to pick is a challenge. Mostly because by July I have shows to work at the theater. I don't know what it's going to be like this July. But I have shows to work at the theater, and I don't have time to go around searching. I got a couple hours, a couple days to go out and look for blackberries, and if I don't already know where they're at, well, it's not easy to find them. I don't know what this is going to look like on camera. I'm so used to walking out here. I know where all the paths are and all the ways that weave through all kind of stuff. Of course, the deer do a good bit to clear paths, and so do I. I do my own part. This right here, where these blackberries, they're right up in here, they're going to fall over on the path, and at some point I'm going to have to cut them because I won't be able to go through here. This is a good example. That right there is a regular raspberry. You can see the purple of the stem of the vine. That's wild black raspberry. This right here, if I can get the light, is a mutated raspberry. It has blonde berries. You can actually buy them. You can get the plants in your supply stores, your gardening supply stores, some of them. Occasionally have the plants. I know Tractor Supply does. And when I discovered them, I was amazed because when I was a kid, I don't remember them being here. And they may not have been. They may have come out of somebody's yard. I don't know if they can cross-pollinate. But the birds could have carried them out. The deer could have carried them out. I used to have a path that went through here, but it got clobbered and I left it that way. I want to see if that blackberry right there is going to do anything. And while the wintertime was whiling away, God made me a new path over here. This was completely clogged up here. You did not go through here a couple years ago. And you can see where a lot of the blackberry, this stuff right in here, all that dead was a huge blackberry. Like the thicket up the hill. Now there's some pretty serious raspberries in here that are still going. And I have a theory that blackberries and raspberries have different light requirements and different, maybe not soil, but the sunlight they receive. And raspberries will grow with a little bit more shade. And when the blackberries get heavily shaded, they just kind of die out. I've got some informal research going on. There's a little patch in here I picked a couple summers ago, springs. And it got hard to get into last year and it didn't have a lot in there. I'll have to see how it does. But up the hill here, I got a patch I found after the 2017 picking season. I just happened to dig into it and I picked it for 2 years. 2018 it was a little bit better. There's one of my paths that just kind of cleared itself. This area used to get really clobbered. And God cleared it out for me as well last winter. You can see more of the stuff that fell down. He can do amazing things that I know most people don't understand. But it's his world after all. This patch looks like there might be a decent amount of picking here. It's hard to say just looking at it, because sometimes I look at this stuff in the winter and say, oh, that's going to be really good. And then spring comes and I come through here and there's hardly anything. But I'm going to see how it does. Right there behind it, all that dead was another big blackberry patch, although they still got some green up there. And right through here, you couldn't go through here. The patch was here. I had a path that went up around by that tree there. And I came out in the winter, and this stuff was all just clobbered. I'm like, oh, I could just make a path through here. And my path went along these sumac trees. And all this stuff down the hill fell down. I'm like, cool. I don't know about anybody else, but my life is a ton better with God in it. Or at least with me aware, because God's always in your life. You just don't know it. This was a little path that was going up the hill, and down there's another one of my paths that went around a corner. And it gets clobbered at various points. But I opened it up. Reopened it. It used to be 4 or 5 years ago, you could just go up through here. Then it got clobbered, then it opened back up, and now it's actually pretty clear this year. This is a part of the patch. In 2017, when I came through here, there wasn't much here. And 2 years later, 3 years later, let's say 2.5 years, you got these huge canes. I don't know if you can tell from the camera how big some of these are, but they can get up to 16 feet long. And they got this super thick base. And some of those, when they grow good, can really have a lot of berries on them. There'll be like, I don't know, 100 berries on a cane. They ripen up in stages, see. They don't all come ripe at once. You come out one day, you pick a little bit. A couple days later, you pick a little bit more. Over here is a really thick blackberry hedge, briar patch. There's no going through that without cutting a bunch of it down. But I got paths going around it. Some of these paths were deer paths, and I just started following them. And areas where I cut my own path, they start following that. They're enterprising creatures. I don't know what the sunlight's going to do. There's a new patch that started growing right here. After the 2018 picking season, there was only a couple of canes. I'm going to see how well those pick. The thing is, I'm going to show you the big patches. When it comes down to the peak of the season, it's the beginning of the season, you can go pick anywhere, a little bit here, a little bit there. But when it comes down to the peak of the season, you want to be in the big patches, because that's where you can go pick 2.5 containers in an hour. You hike around all these little patches and you might get a container. And what I do is I pretty much eat a container a day, and I freeze the rest. So if I come out and pick 8 containers, I got nominally 6 containers to freeze each time. And I might do that 6 times, 7, 8 times. This year I'm going to try on I run one day and I hike the next. I'm going to try to, on the run days, there's a berry patch by my run spot. God guided me to a new run spot last year. And I noticed in the winter, it's like, ooh, there's a lot of berry patches. And I'm going to see if I can pick a couple containers each run day during the peak. Just to pad out that freezer collection. Because I freeze about 40 containers and eat them throughout the year. And my goal has been to be able to eat a container a week. Or at least portion it down and have like a baggie a week, because they're really good. This is an interesting path. It goes that way. And where it comes over here, it went through a heavy briar patch like down there. And down there was nothing. That briar patch didn't exist. It was pokeweeds. But I cut the path. I think I cut it through at the end of 2015. In 2016, I did the berry picking season. Well, once again, it got in the middle of the season. I didn't use this path. And it just fell over. The blackberries fell over on it. I couldn't find it. And I come back through and cut a new way through and found some of the old places where I cut down blackberries and figured out where the path was. Now the deer helped me keep it. But it just disappeared. And it's like the path was just gone. In a couple of months, I came back out maybe August or September, and it's just like, oh, what happened to my path? But lately, it's been a lot more open. I'm reasonably certain God is helping out with this. And then I picked 2016. No, this was after 2016. I got into this area here because I glanced at it in 2015 and I didn't see anything here. And after the picking season, I came down this way and there were berry patches starting to grow in here. And here's one right in front. Let's see if I can get the point to it. Right along there is a huge patch. There were 3 little patches and they merged after 2017. And this area has been doing really good. There's another patch over here. I'll get to not pointing to the sun, but right along in here, this is a big hump of a patch. I picked a lot of berries in there last year, and there was hardly anything here in 2016. But I didn't have a good look at it. I don't know how it was doing. And then over this way, there's another big patch that 2017, 2018, I picked a ton of berries in it. It didn't do as good in 2019. I'm not quite sure why. I know that when I come through, the patches are clobbered with blackberries and wild grapevine and wild rosebush. And when I clear that stuff out, the raspberries go crazy out here. We're looking up the hill at that patch now. You know, I think it might be what I'm looking at is just a digital display on this camera. Just looks whitewashed. But it might be I don't have my glasses on. And the tilt on it's not good. But this has just become a monster of a patch. And I expect to pick a lot here. Now here's some blackberry here. There's a little bit of raspberry in it. And it might not look like much. But down in here, there was a huge patch like the one behind us up the hill. And it sort of got clobbered a little bit. I find it quite amazing how it changes. It shifts around from year to year, especially the blonde raspberries, which taste a little bit, they're not as tart. I've been saving them year to year in the freezer, a good amount of them to make a pie. I want my mom to make a pie with them, an entire blonde raspberry pie, because they have a different taste. And that's one of my goals, and I think this year, if the vines I've discovered are any indication, I will have enough to make a whole pie. It takes about 3 cups. I think a full container will make a pie. I have 24-ounce sour cream containers I save and rinse out. But going down this way, there's a little bit here. There was some back there. That area's gotten flattened out for some reason. But this right here was a lot bigger of a hump. It's all fallen down. That happens in the winter. The snows come and they weigh everything down. But I'm hoping that it's still bearing berries like it did. The big canes are there. I'll have to see how it goes and how do I get out of here? I had to make a new path because when the blackberries and the grapevines cover the path, I just cut them out. But when the raspberries cover the path, I can't do that because I have to leave the raspberries. And I know I'm getting down to where I'm pointing towards the sun and it's on the horizon. It'll be in the camera. It'll wash everything out. Sometimes I like to just come out here and sit quietly, and we might do a couple minutes of that over here by this little burbling stream. I'm not used to operating a camera and walking through the woods. It comes with extra challenges. And I don't have my proper hiking pants on because I wasn't planning quite on going through this area. And I don't want to tear up these pants. Okay, we're out of the heavy thicket. Call it the thicket. I also try not to mess with raspberry vines. They're more delicate than blackberries and the wild rose bush, and you bump them and bruise them, especially when they're young, and they won't grow berries. So I try to stay away from those as much as I can. But when you're picking, you got to go through the patches. But I try to stay out of the patches until it's picking time to optimize what's available to pick. There's a couple canes right here. When I found them in 2017, I got a good amount of berries off of them. The next 2 years, they didn't do too good. But they look like they might be pretty decent. This going up the hill here is my picking area. I can see a whole bunch of the blackberries, but raspberries kind of hide. And I think if you walked by in the field and looked in here, you wouldn't even know, because I walked past in 2016 and didn't even know anything was in here. And then it was October and the underbrush was starting to die down, and I noticed some of them. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't get to pick those. Last year, right in here, I found morel mushrooms, which my neighbors were all interested in, and I don't know if they're going to grow in the same area this year. I suspect they're going to grow somewhere where I can find them. I'm going to have to pick them this year. Last year I picked one. I tasted it, and it tastes like a mushroom. Mushrooms have a peculiar taste, but it's not like a raspberry taste. It's not sweet, and it's not tart. It's just kind of bland. If you've ever had tofu, take that and flavor it with an earthy taste, and that's mushroom flavor. I like mushrooms better than tofu, though. Tofu is something that, if you've ever tried it, it's all about the preparation. It's all about the spices and the condiments. Because by itself, it has almost no interesting taste. Oh, there's a whole little forest of the May-apples here. You can see them dotted up here and there. And yeah, there's some junk out here I want to get rid of. Somebody left a lounge chair, a deck chair, pool chair, whatever you call those things. It's been sitting here for years. And I'm meaning to throw it out, but I don't know what pile of junk I want to take it to. There's a spring behind here up the hill, and it runs through here. And anytime there's rain, there'll be water here. And I don't know if it's happening. I can hear a little bit. I don't know if this mic's going to pick it up. I'm going to try to catch the sound of the spring because it's something I really enjoy. I'm going to go over that way. I think there's a bigger drop of water. Water goes, when it falls, it makes a certain noise, the babbling brook noise. And there's some over here. So we're going to make our way down here, and I'm going to see what I can record. I got to adjust the mic. It's probably going to make noise. It's underneath of this deadfall here, this dead stuff that fell down. The water's trickling down through, so I'm going to try to record it. It's just a simple little area. This little place. Ooh, a big bee. The big bees have been out for about a month. They're awesome. Maybe a little bit longer. I saw the first couple at the end of February. They start showing up on the warm days. To me, nature's always been fascinating, that if you leave it alone, it just works. We try to make all this complicated stuff. And here's this simple, basic thing, and life just grows. It's just here. You don't touch it, and it does its own thing, and it's beautiful. It's always made me happy to come out here. I always felt like I was close to something, and I think the thing that I was feeling close to was God. I just didn't know. I wasn't aware. He's right here all the time. If you have a place like this, I'll tell you, I'll come out here every day if I can. Maybe in the wintertime I might only come out once or twice a week, but once it's summer, nighttime on the run days, I'll come out a little bit, 15, 20 minutes. Once it's berry picking time, I'll start going on 2, 3, 4 hour hikes. The picking hikes are about 5 hours at peak. I'll spend as much time as I can out here. And if you have a place like this, get out there. Get out of your house. Get off your couch. Get away from the video games, the TV, and go walk around. It's beautiful. The exercise does a world of good. You get some fresh air. If you're in a city, go find a park somewhere. Once the parks open back up, go out and enjoy this. It's amazing. I think we're going to wrap up this segment here. I'll talk to you all in the future. Everybody, take care. God bless you all. I'm out.